Canada. I'm originally from Mexico. So I needed to introduce myself because as a veterinarian, I have seen so many times how people have to surrender their animals. Yes, and I'm not judging anybody. I am not saying that's the wrong thing to do or the right thing to do. It's just that I see that every time that happens, it's always very painful. You know something? People never want to surrender their animals. What is the problem then? What is happening that this is so often? This happens very, very often. Let me tell you. Sorry, it's more comfortable here. So, when someone decides to rescue an animal, to adopt an animal, to buy an animal, it doesn't matter what country you are. You love that beautiful face. You adopt that beautiful dog or beautiful cat or bunny, even a horse or a little goat, right? And you think deep in your heart, you really want that animal to stay like that forever. I think that's an illusion. That's something that we think will happen forever. So when an animal is little or is young, usually they are very healthy. They eat little. Of course, you have to vaccinate that animal and etc., but this is just a tiny cost. But what happens in the long term? It's very difficult to imagine that we will have a cat probably for 20 or more years, or a dog for 10, 12, 15 years. We never know. Let's say I am 40. That means when I'm 55, maybe my dog passes. Or a cat. I'm 40, then I'm going to be 60. But what happens, for example, if I'm 60? And I decide to adopt a dog, a big dog, a lab, a pit bull, a boxer, a big dog, for example. And I'm already 60, 65. And suddenly I can see that my body doesn't move the same as it used to be moving like when I was 60. What happens? When I turn 10, like when I turn 70 or 65, like 10 years later, that dog will be also older. And that dog will require my assistance. And if I'm already older, probably I will also have pain in my joints and my hip and my back. And what happens? Then I may not be able to take care of that dog as I thought I would. So we have to be very careful, very responsible about what dog or what animal, and if I should really adopt an animal. I'm not saying we should not adopt. I can remember since I was 10 years old, I come from Mexico, and I used to adopt any dog and animal I was seeing on the street. You know, in Mexico, unfortunately, there are many animals on the street. I was hiding them from my mom, and I was keeping them, and I was grooming them, and I was vaccinating them since I was 10. But today, nowadays, it's a very different situation. Dogs live longer, much longer than they used in the past. So we have to take into consideration that, for example, if you live in Canada, like I am, like I do, I live in Canada currently. You know how much it costs to have a dog for just 1 year? It is between $1,200, let's say, just food, $800 to $1,200. Yeah, just food. And it's a big dog, it can cost even more. And if it is a dog that has, for example, an allergy, then it has to be a very specific food with hydrolyzed protein, maybe, like medicated food, you know, food that only we as veterinarians prescribe it to them. So just imagine you have a dog like that. And you say, oh, that's a beautiful puppy. Yes, I know it will be a beautiful puppy, but that puppy will grow. And that puppy will need more attention, will need training. That puppy, not only training, also will need for example, boarding if you like to travel. That dog will also need vaccinations. We need recurrent veterinary visit. We need grooming. If it is a dog with long hair, you will need to groom that dog. Even if it's a little dog, let's say a Shih Tzu. Shih Tzus need a lot of grooming. If you don't groom them, they will be just a whole big mat. And it takes long to groom it, and it's very costly. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't adopt dogs. I'm just saying we have to be very careful what kind of dog, if we should adopt, or even what old that dog should be. You know, for example, if we adopt, if I'm 55, just imagine I'm 55 and I decide to adopt a young cat, a very baby, like a newborn cat. If that cat lives more than 20 years, because today there are cats that can live up to 24, 25 years. I have seen that in practice, okay? I'm a veterinarian. I have seen cats that are 24 years old. So I'm 55. That means I'd be almost 80 years of age. Okay, we're talking first about care. But on top, we also have to think about our financial situation. Okay, let's imagine you already have your retirement plan. Because if you have a very stable retirement plan, when you have extra money to care for that animal, if you want, sorry, that's my dogs that are receiving my daughter. If you decide that that dog, just wait a second, please. Can you please close the door? Can you please close the door? Can you please close the door? So if you decide that you have that dog and you are 55 and you turn 80 and that cat, I was talking about a cat, and that cat is now, that cat is 20, but I am 80 years of age and I already have a retirement plan, but if I don't have a retirement plan, what will happen to that cat? That cat could have kidney problems. That cat could have like so many problems, diabetes, cancer, other kind of issues, medical issues that are most unaffordable, even if you have pet insurance. Many cats and many dogs unfortunately don't have pet insurance, or the owner decides to buy that pet insurance too late. And already some diseases have been diagnosed before they buy the pet insurance. I have seen people, let me see, I have two tabby cats and their names are Maverick and Goose. Oh, Caroline, that's beautiful, Maverick. Oh, that's beautiful, Maverick and Goose. Yeah, I don't know how old your cats are, Caroline. But if you are a responsible pet owner, which I am sure you are, you already know how expensive it can be, right? Let's say, for example, we can count different things. First, veterinary care. Well, first, most important, we have to start with pet nutrition. I'm an animal nutritionist as well. So I'm a veterinarian and I'm also an animal nutritionist. Food. If we decide to buy our pets cheap food, in the long term, that will cost us a lot. It can cost a very high protein diet in dogs, for example, can cause kidney problems in the long term, and specifically for some breeds. So, secondly, if it is a very high in fat or in salt food, which dogs love, it's very high in fat, that will cause metabolic problems. And that is also very expensive. A metabolic problem can be, for example, diabetes. And then you have to be buying products to help those animals, which can be super expensive. Yes, but I don't know, because they came out from the woods and came straight to me, and no, they're my own little beautiful cat. Oh, that's so cute, Caroline. I love people who are like you. I really love them, and wow, they changed your life and you changed theirs. That's so, so, so beautiful. Thank you for taking care of animals. But you know, if you have the time now and you have the patience to really learn about more, like be educated, more educated about their care, their needs, and good food, I know probably you let them out, so they may be like hunting mice or other animals, little animals or so. So you not don't have full control of their diet. But if you can supplement with really good kibbles or raw food, like it's very, very important for them to eat really well so that you avoid in the future problems, metabolic problems, kidney problems, and so many diseases that depend on the quality of their food. Yeah, I'm reading here. Thank you for your participation here. I am a veterinarian and I am also an animal nutritionist, but I am also a woman who loves her pets. I have two dogs, a boxer and a pug. And it is heartbreaking to see. I have met so many people, many of them are women, that in their stage of life, sometimes they're already by themselves. Kids are gone, or they're widowed, or divorced, or just single, or just maybe the couple, and they're already in their 50s and their 60s. So their pets become their most important companionship. And even if you're like a young woman with family and everything, like pets become a very important companion. And eventually, when that happens, they're so important to you, but we forget that they're also expensive. And if you plan ahead of time, if you say, I set apart a budget just to take care of my animals. First, you need a pet insurance, sorry. Secondly, you always have to ask for the right food, the best food for that specific animal. Even if you have two dogs that are brothers, siblings, probably both need different food. So you have to get assessment and find exactly the food that you need for that animal. Okay? If you have the best food, then you will give them longer life and better quality of life. So focus on their food. But it's important also that you have the right budget. On one hand, some people want to save some money on cheap food, low quality food. But if you give them good food in the long term, it will pay back because you will save money instead of having to buy supplements, instead of having to buy, I don't know, medication because we didn't take care of them properly through good nutrition. Then we will put so much money in their medicines, in their supplementation, in their illnesses, in medicines, because we didn't take care of them since they were young. So, responsible pet ownership means first, understanding about their needs. Always going to the expert, to your vet, talking to your vet, visiting your vet at least twice a year. Some people say once a year. I would recommend you to go at least twice a year to a vet. Even if you see that the dog or the cat or whatever pet you have at home looks completely fine, I would recommend you to visit that vet twice a year. Animals usually hide their symptoms. Why? Because that's like their instinct, right? They don't want to show predators in wildlife that they're sick, that they have a problem. So they hide them, not because they want to, just because they're following their instinct. So you will not notice when something happens. When you notice, probably the problem has already evolved. But if you go like every 6 months, even if the animal, the pet, looks healthy, you go every 6 months, you will notice and you will take action right on time, hopefully. It can be even a very young animal. Things happen. Usually, we spend much more money on animals when they're in their senior age. Like, let's say a dog after 6 years of age, 7 years of age, we already consider that animal a senior. Some people come to me and say like, oh, my dog is very young. Look at him. He walks perfectly fine. He's already 9 or 10. I'm like, okay, that dog is already a senior. Now ask them, are you giving them some supplements? No, he's perfectly fine. Okay. Just imagine that a dog, depending on the breed and how he was bred or so, like he was treated, how much exercise, like exactly the same as us, right? Imagine a healthy person, a healthy man or a healthy woman in their 50s or 60s. Let's say in their 55, like my age. Okay, if I have always exercised in my life. I have always gone to the gym, I walk a lot, I have a healthy lifestyle. And even if I have been a very healthy person, I know that now today I have to take some supplements to protect my joints, to protect my bones, to protect my gut, everything. It's exactly the same with animals. If we do not protect their health on time, and it may be too late. For example, women, they start to lose their bones, like the bones in women start to become fragile. So if we do not supplement ourselves with the right supplements that our veterinarians, doctors prescribe, then we will have eventually problems. And it's exactly the same with animals. They need supplementation. So if you don't go eventually at least every 6 months to the vet, then you may be too late. Maybe you're saving $80 a year, $100 a year. If you divide it in the 12 months that a year has, it's less than $10 a month. Maybe you can save, put the money in a box or in a bank account and say, okay, this money is for my pet's health, the veterinary visit every 6 months. And you can put it in a notebook or in your calendar, a Google Calendar, wherever you want, and organize it. Like January and June, I have to take my dog to the vet visit. And I already have that money saved. Those $100, $120, $150 you pay for that veterinary visit, of course, adding all preventive medicine, which I'm talking about vaccine, parasites, all that, okay? But just a check, to check, like a visit, like normal checkup of your animals. Every 6 months, those $100, $150 once a year will pay off in the long term. That is responsible pet ownership. If you do that since the pet arrives at your place, you can say like, oh, my dog is so healthy. Yeah, probably he is. But what if not? It's not being pessimistic. It's being realistic and thinking about their future. I always say in my content, it's not just about love. It's about planning their future. Planning their future means that being very responsible with veterinarian visits, very responsible following up on the veterinary recommendations. If the veterinarian prescribes a specific food because that dog has X problem. I have seen dogs that are puppies and they need, for example, a diet for very, very sensitive gut. They were born with a very sensitive intestine. Then they need, no matter what, they need a specific kind of food. You will save problems because if that dog doesn't receive that kind of food, eventually he will develop other kind of problems, like so many problems that I could have a huge list of problems. For example, a cat, it's very, very common to see kidney problems, urinary problems with cats. And they can be detected on time before they go to bed. So if we give that cat the diet that the cat needs, then you will also save money in the long term. I have seen so many cats that never needed any medication, even though they always had urinary problems, just by keeping them with the right diet. So that is responsible pet ownership. Okay, so you may have a savings account just for your pet. If you plan ahead of time, you put aside in a savings account every single month a little bit of your budget for your pet. I promise you, you will thank that you're listening to this today if you're really responsible with your pets. If you put aside whatever you want, like 1%, 2% of what you're making, the money that you're making, or an investment account, whatever you want, but just put that money aside just for your pets, same as you would do for your kids. Exactly the same. In the long term, you will need it. no matter what. Just talk about the worst scenario. You have to put that dog down because Dada was super critically ill and he was dying and the dog dies. You know how much it can cost? About $2,000. $2,000. Yeah. Yeah. It's very expensive. So what would you do? What would you do with the animal? My recommendation, I'm going to close in a couple of minutes. Responsible pet ownership. I will go through 3 points, the most important ones, okay? I'm choosing a dog first. Well, I had not told you, just subscribe to this channel. And in this channel, I always share a link to my digital community. Inside my digital community, Paws and Legacy, I always share all this. If you want to choose a dog or a cat, I mostly talk about dogs and cats, okay? Know about their breeds. Of course, it can be like a mix. But if you know a little bit about, like, when you choose a mixed dog that it has like a Staffordshire Terrier, a little bit of Boxer and a little bit of Pug or whatever, then you can like imagine, or the vet can like forecast like what kind of diseases and needs that animal has, okay? So understand about breeds. That's a point that I share in my, but just exclusive for women digital online community, digital community, Paws and Legacy. I shared the link in the description. I will share it, okay? Or in the first comment, I will pin it. So find out about their breed, like exactly what animal am I choosing to have, okay? It's not just choosing like just randomly. No, a lab, for example, looks beautiful when they're young, but oh my God, they can become monsters if you don't train them. Do you have the budget to train that dog? I love labs, but honestly, I had a lab and she almost broke my daughter a leg. She needed training. I had to take her training, and it cost me a lot of money. Okay, and if you're here in Canada or the US, or I don't know, this very expensive, high cost countries, it's very, very almost unaffordable. So think about it. It's not just a puppy. And you don't want to think about, oh, this dog is destroying my house and my furniture. Like, dogs are dogs, and cats are cats. And they will pee and they will poo and they will destroy things. Yes, it's part of their growing stage. So think about what animal you really want, depending on your activity level. How much time do you have available for that animal? It's not the same to have a Chihuahua than to have a Shih Tzu, than to have a Lab or a Pit Bull or Rhodesian. It's not the same. Cats the same. They're very different one from the other one. Okay, so choosing the right animal. Secondly, if you already have that animal, choose the right food. And third, go every 6 months to the vet, just for checkup. Believe me, put aside that money so that you really enjoy being a pet parent, and your family, yourself and your pet will be very grateful that you made that decision. Remember, subscribe to my channel for more information. I will be doing these lives every Thursdays in English and every Wednesdays in Spanish. So you can reach out to me through this through the comments. And yes, follow for more. I will be sharing as much as I can. I will be talking a lot about this. And for maybe in about 2 weeks, I will be sharing some links where you can find more information related to how can I travel with pets, or what are the laws here in Canada to have a pet, where can I find a pet insurance. Eventually, inside my community, I will also share more about animal nutrition, like pet nutrition, because I am a specialist. I have a master's in animal nutrition. So I will be sharing everything I can to help you to become a better pet owner. Sorry for the interruption. My daughter came back and my dogs, of course, got crazy for her. So I had to ask to close my door. So I hope to see you soon. And let me see if there's like no more comments. Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.